Hey guys, Mike here. So definitely an interesting day in the market, and I don't know if you happen to notice, but we got one of those days where it was all the indexes were green, the dollar was green, the yields were green, the VIX was green, energy is catching a bid, finances caught a bid, Chinese stocks caught a bid. I mean, it was just a green day, right? Not quite all the way around, but when you see things that contrarily go against each other turning green, also it's one of those things just kind of watch out for. But it's to be expected because this is FOMC week. It's when you usually get this kind of stuff going on, big earnings, like just a lot of catalysts happening this week. So definitely will make for an interesting day tomorrow for sure. Now, we did have some stuff come out, some headlines you definitely need to make sure you're aware of. A couple of you guys, brought in the comments, so I figured I would address that as well. Also, one I'm going to set the record straight on. I saw it come out around 2 o'clock and everything, and I just saw this gentleman get interviewed Friday, and so I want to make sure you get the full story on that, not just some headline and stuff. And then, of course, we saw what Tesla, what it do. Got right above that level I told you to, closed right above the level I told you it needed to get to, and I'll show you why that happened and stuff. Now, pay attention to something that came out this morning. And again, the markets, I don't know if they're really paying attention to this right now just because of the kind of rally that they're in and stuff. But you had the S&P Global Flash US PMI come out. This has manufacturing output data, services business activity data. And so anything greater than 50 equals growth since the previous month. But you can see, obviously, service business activity slightly rolling over, manufacturing output still below 50. And the thing to take away from this more than anything else, because there'll be a lot of this information coming out this week, is what this means is U.S. companies signaled a further rise in business activity during July, with the service sector continuing to drive growth. Nonetheless, the rate of expansion eased to the slowest for 5 months as service providers registered a softer upturn in output, and manufacturers reported broadly unchanged levels of production at the start of the third quarter. And if we scroll down, new orders remained in expansion territory, albeit rising at a softer pace. A sustained rise in new export orders for services helped support the upturn as domestic demand lost some momentum, often due to higher interest rates. So maybe they're finally going to start taking effect here. On the price point, this is important to pay attention to. Elevated cost pressures continue to be led by service sector. However, manufacturers saw a renewed rise in input prices, and services firms report a slower uptick in operating expenses. So just keep that in mind. Pause it, read it 3 times if you need to. Now, the big one to pay attention to, and a lot of you have pointed this out in the comments, and we'll see, right? You figured to get this hammered out by now, but you got UPS and Teamsters restart contract talks tomorrow, and billions are at stake. The reason why is because they deliver the second most amount of packages and stuff next to the United States Postal Service and right above Amazon. But if this doesn't work out and they go on this strike they're talking about, you're talking about workers losing around $1.1 billion in wages and $4 billion in losses for UPS customers, okay? And so it'll be a supply chain logistics nightmare because people will be trying to scramble to use FedEx and everything else, but they won't be able to pick up hardly any of those packages. So keep this in mind if it happens. I expect they start hearing from the White House getting involved because they don't want this to happen, especially with everything the way it is right now, and the market continuing to try to move up and stuff. So just keep that in mind. It's happened one other time back in the past, and I mean, it was kind of a big deal then too. So now the other thing is this headline that came out this afternoon, which I saw pop up on Twitter, and it says Mike Wilson, who's with Morgan Stanley, basically says he was wrong, he screwed up, missed the AI boom and all this good stuff. But I want you to get the full picture on this because, again, how are we in this country? Like, somebody gets 2 things right, 1 thing wrong, we just crucify him the wrong part. We forgot, like, oh, wow, he was way ahead of most people when he said, you better get out of the market, it's going down. And then in October, he said, we're too oversold, you better start buying, but he called it a bear market rally. So they were buying. And then in February, I believe it was late January, February, he said, you need to start getting out of this thing, right? And then, of course, it booms. But I just saw an interview with him Friday, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let me show you exactly what the man said here.
Now, look, I'm going to say this up front, okay? I've been dead wrong this year, okay? So, and we don't get everything right, but I think what you said is true. We try to at least, present the data the way we see it, and we're not always going to get it right. Markets sometimes trade away from our thesis, and sometimes our thesis is just wrong, okay? And look, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't really buy into the AI theme the way that other people have, and that's wrong. I mean, because it's worked. So making money is different than being right. And I would say that the last 2 months is when this thing has really taken on another level of sort of speculative flavor. And we see it now in the sentiment data, the positioning data, the flows. There's, you see the same stuff that we see. And it's my job as a fiduciary to, let people know that the risk reward, okay, at these levels, this is not a good time to be getting incrementally bullish. All right. So what I try to do is I don't worry about the last 6 months. Is I just admit I was wrong. And then what I'm trying to do is figure out what do we do from here? Mm-hmm. Just because you make a mistake, don't compound the mistake by making another one. So I think a lot of people did that last year, for example. They were bullish, and then they got bearish at the bottom, and then they sold everything. And that's how you make lows. Now I'm on the other side of that, right? So I was a hero last year. I'm a zero this year. I get that. One thing that I underestimated was how much fiscal stimulus was also in the system. We've written about this recently. Our rates team really put me onto this. But over the last 12 months, imagine this, last 12 months, the fiscal deficit has gone up by $1 trillion. Okay, that's 4% of GDP. $1 trillion at a time when the Federal Reserve is supposed to be trying to fight inflation. Now, we can talk about the political nature of why they did it then, but that's a real boost to the economy that I think has made things sound or feel a little bit better.
And now the last thing he's going to address is what I've been talking about since last December, right? When people were talking about, earnings going to be horrible and da-da-da-da. And I just said, hey, I raised the question. What if there's not an earnings apocalypse, right? And then the first quarter came along and it was the same thing. And kept saying, well, what if that doesn't happen? What's going to happen here, right? And people are like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to be terrible because the economy is this and the other. And it didn't happen in the fourth quarter. Didn't happen in the first quarter. Here we are on the second quarter earnings. And, they're looking rough. As you saw with Domino's this morning and other companies, but the difference is also, and it's what I was talking about, like what's happening going into this earnings. Stocks are having massive run-ups in the earnings versus the last few earnings, though, they were basically run down or trading sideways, and the market tends to react differently. Like if you're running up in the earnings, you better dang well hit it and then give some really good forward guidance, right? Versus if you're running down or sideways, the bar's lower, okay? So just keep that in mind. But this is where he talks about the shot clock, right, on their call here.
I think if you don't get a material slowdown in earnings, there's earnings disappointment, there's a chance we probably go to new highs, and we'll just keep going. That means there's no recession, that we averted the issue. The fiscal dominant policy takes over into an election year. That's the bull case. And by the way, I'm not adverse to it. I mean, one of the reasons we're bullish on 24 earnings is because of that. We just thought there would be this drawdown in between. So if it doesn't, like there's a shot clock on this call, right? Like in other words, and I said this, by the way, in January, and then I revised it because I didn't see all this other stuff. I said we pushed out the shot clock, and people say, oh, well, you're revising. I did, but I won't revise it again. Like if we don't get it in September, October, it ain't happening.
And so there you go, right? I mean, and I think eventually you got to go, okay, maybe it is off the table. But then again, it's, this, what I always keep calling this a year first. People used to laugh at me, a year ago when I started using that term, year first, and we just kept hitting year first. And now people are coming around going, oh, this is a year first, right? And so it's always interesting me when somebody makes the call and I'm like, and they're so definitive about it. And I'm like, wow, I mean, any other year, maybe, but this year, like, that's tough, right? To make that call, even when he's making now, saying, oh, if we don't get it by September, October, it's just not going to happen. And maybe he's right? But again, if it does happen, who's going to be shocked? Look at what's going on this year, right? Like one thing he couldn't predict, obviously, was this one right here. When you saw this came out today, but when the Feds run off their balance sheet, all of a sudden inject that much money into those regional banks, like nobody would have guessed that in January, okay? But that's what happened going in February to March, right? And now you see all of a sudden the balance sheet starting to finally get below the level it was at when they started injecting that money into the banks. And of course they said, oh, it's not stimulus. Well, hell yeah, it's stimulus. It don't matter, like, whether you're borrowing it or not or giving it to somebody, it's still got $500 million in either hand, okay? And now if you need your magnifying glass to spot this runoff, please go get it now. Like here's the balance sheet, go back to 2013. Here's the runoff over here. Again, get a magnifying glass to see it, but here it is. You see that little thing, that little blip over there? That's where we're at, okay? And so again, they talked a big game last year, and they said, hey, we're going to run 100 billion, all this crazy mess, and that's all we're seeing right now. And that's actually a little more than what the level was in 2018. Before they had the taper tantrum and all that crazy mess and had to stop running it off. And guys, before we continue, if you get anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And the good thing is, going forward, like this is the one X factor I think that happened in 08. Matter of fact, 2010 really. But, and it happened in 2018, happened in 2020 is what? the government is the X factor, which how much money, how far they willing to bend to actually just prop up the markets. Like that's truly the X factor. You don't know it, right? Unless you're on the inside, of course. I mean, if you're on the inside, you know before it comes out and stuff. But we're not going to know that. You're not going to know until all of a sudden the news comes out, and you're seeing that right now. And what happened today? You got this news coming out of China. I mean, it's what we talked about with Chinese stocks. Like, what pushes Chinese stocks? It ain't fundamentals. It ain't none of that mess. It has to do with China repeatedly, coming out and saying, hey, we're going to stimulate the economy. Now, I have no idea what this means. Maybe somebody can tell me. But they come out and say, China's going to step up policy adjustments amid torturous recovery. China will implement its macro adjustments in a precise and forceful manner and strengthen counter-cyclical adjustments as the government sticks with a prudent monetary policy and proactive fiscal policy. Again, maybe you tell me in the comments what you think that means. I don't know if that means they're going to fudge numbers, they're going to force banks to do certain things that make things look great or whatever. But you can see, again, this is what drives Chinese stocks. This is why I find them, some people want to chart these things and say, oh man, look at these technicals and fundamentals. But it's like, no, it's news. That's what drives them, right? I mean, it was huge, right? And again, when the negative news comes out, when it comes to any kind of stimulus, they go down, right? Again, BABA's up. Here it is in the supply area. We'll see if it can finally bust through, right? We keep getting up in there and selling back down. So we'll see if it does. And the market says, hey, all about the stimulus is what we like. Then, hit 105 next, 120s after that. So just keep those levels in mind because it can definitely happen. There's no doubt about that. And I'm even seeing posts out there saying, people from do like Elliott Wave and things like that saying, and they buy NIO over Tesla, right? And they think Tesla's going to go up. But they're like, but NIO, if NIO goes from, 11 to, 30 or whatever it is, and Tesla goes from, obviously where it's at 269 today, I believe it is, to say 350. Well, obviously you get more bang for your buck in NIO. But again, is that based on fundamentals? Of course, it's not, right? I mean, NIO couldn't even, it can't even carry Tesla's jockstrap. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But they're basing off a chart and stimulus coming out of China. That's basically what's coming out. And they may be 100% right. So we'll see. We'll definitely see for sure and stuff. Let me know what you think down in the comments and stuff. Again, remember, that's not based off amount of car sales or dominance or anything like that, as far as I can read in that. But again, they're playing the price action. They're playing which one has more upside, right, in that instance and stuff. So just keep that in mind. And one thing Tesla does do, if you ain't noticed, when it has a good day, it tends to uplift the other car companies, right? Even if they're garbage car companies. I'm not saying these are garbage car companies, but there's plenty that are. I mean, Workhorse is up today. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it does that. So it's another way to look at that as well. I just want to bring that to your attention if you hadn't heard that one yet. But, another one's NVIDIA, right? We talked about it yesterday, that cross right there with those two trend lines, and what happened? It bounced right at it. Like that was going to be the key for it. Again, on hourly, the MACD is trying to roll up, needs to get above that 50. RSI needs to get back above the 50 as well. Graveyard of gaps down here. Will they fill? We'll have to see. Again, this is another one that's just getting bought up. Now, Apple, these right here, I'm going to show you Apple and Microsoft. These are trillion-dollar channels, folks, okay? And you can see yesterday it bounced right at the bottom, had a green day today. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bounces off the bottom of the channel right there. So it is still respecting this channel. Again, it does not report until next week. So it does not report this week. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And one thing we got to keep in mind with Apple, just like you'll see with Microsoft, RSI is trying to tell us one story, right? It's having lower highs versus obviously Apple having higher highs, right? Here's Microsoft. Again, trillion-dollar channel here. And you see it multiple bounces since March. Both of them been in this channel since March. These are the two stocks that obviously are weighted the heaviest. They carry the market and everything. Microsoft reports earnings tomorrow after the close. So keep that in mind. Again, graveyard of these gaps. Netflix has been filling gaps. Tesla filled a lot of gaps after earnings. So this is somewhat running up into earnings. We'll have to see what happens on this one because it's not bouncing off that channel. But you can see it's just like Apple. It's still running up, show higher highs versus RSI saying, we're going to have to see on this one. So again, we'll see if they get treated or if this one gets treated like Netflix and Meta did or not. Now, one thing it did get today, helped make it green. Here comes Goldman Sachs jumping on the train saying we're going to go with a $400 price target, right? Giving it that $3 trillion valuation. So just keep that in mind. Now, Tesla, big day today, huge reversal in the morning here because it started to sell off. And then I'll show you the huge reversal. But there's that trend line. Just kept it there. Need to close above 268. Magically did what? closed above 268, shocker there. And you can see, obviously, MACD right here on the hourly cross and everything, bullish cross. But you can see, if I'm going to bring this to the 5 minute, not the 1 minute here, and you can see a major reversal in the morning. All right, I mean, it sold off, gap down, and then just took off from there. 254, all the Tesla bulls started getting in there. And, you know, again, what drives Tesla more than any other stock? The call options, right? So what happened? Sweeps started just flying in. Just millions upon millions of call sweeps started flying in. Sweeps are when you're basically telling the broker, this is big money. You know, get me in there at the best price you can, but just sweep all the liquidity up that comes up, right? And so this is what drives Tesla. It never failed. You see these huge call sweepers coming across here, and some of these are all different dates, around between like the 260 to 300 range, most of them. And so just keep that in mind. And that's why I wasn't surprised when I saw that come across, to see Tesla just keep on ripping and roaring. But mainly, what price do they need to get above? 268. That's what they need to close above, and that's what they did, right? To let the bulls try to be back in charge. So keep that in mind. Now, what's interesting is Meta here, which is, you know, supposed to report earnings this week, but it's already not going to be running up in earnings. It's actually running down in earnings currently. And on a bigger time frame, you see this MACD on the weekly. Looks like it's trying to do a bearish cross. Okay, so keep that in mind, as this is already falling out of that rising wedge. Again, that's a larger time frame, so just keep an eye on that. Now, on the hourly time frame, you can see the MACD is trying to do a bullish cross down there beneath, trying to come out of oversold and stuff. Again, there is a gap down there around like the 285 area. Keep that in mind. This will be reporting earnings Wednesday this week, so keep that in mind as well. See if they can push this up. And again, it's been just pushed up so far. It's just been incredible, right? And so, you know, we'll see where it goes from here, and earnings will dictate it, obviously. But again, earnings tomorrow. You saw Domino's was a disaster today. But we got Verizon, General Motors, 3M, Spotify is going to be reporting. Then after hours, Microsoft, Apple, Snap, Visa, Teladocs, and just Texas Instruments, a whole boatload of them, okay? So keep that in mind. And then we're going to come into economic data. I think the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, I don't know if the market's going to react to it, but especially I want to hear more about the services than the manufacturing myself. But that's about all you got going on tomorrow with this one. A bunch of home data, but I don't know if that's even going to play out, because, again, I don't know if the market's even going to listen to it, because what do we know about housing data? It came out today, just a huge shortage of inventory, right? Forcing people into staying into rent at high rates, or forcing them to buy the homes at super high prices, super high rates, and just hoping they'll be able to refinance in a year or two. That's basically what they're stuck at. That's why home builders continue to go up and stuff, and they might continue as far as the near futures is considered, what to find out and stuff. But the one thing we know about this week, every day is going to be super volatile, swings in both directions. Earnings will dictate where we go. Again, it's not about what they report on earnings. It's about how the market's going to accept the earnings. If these stocks are running up heavy into it and they don't kick butt and take names in the earnings and give a great forward guidance, they're going down. That's just the way it is. I do find it interesting that Meta is selling down before the earnings, right? But you saw how Netflix got punished. Tesla got punished. Now Tesla's back above a certain level. Again, what do? They didn't even give us some disastrous quarter, but it's just you beat them down, you get in at a better price, push them back up. You know, we'll see if that continues. So hope you guys got some out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you did. I really appreciate it. All you guys that watched and everything. And I will see you tomorrow.